Hello, welcome to Vlogmas Day 15. It's gonna be weird when this is over, not making puzzles every day. Today, back to it with difficult topics for me to talk about. Weird. Looks like it's dirty, but it's not. Today I'm going to give you some tips on small talk. Now, small talk, probably everybody well, not everybody. I bet the initial reaction is, well, I'm not going to watch that because I don't do small talk. However, if you're going to start having a relationship with people, which most people with avoidant personality disorder would like to have relationships with people, and even if they're not like a big part of their life, like a in-depth, deep relationship, people, you have to kind of interact with people. Am I still on the? No. It's part of the nature of people with avoidant personality disorder. Again, what's the difference between having avoidant personality disorder and schizoid is that avoidance sort of can't really avoid people as much as they feel it's necessary. Which can be like a gigantic issue. So I'm going to stop procrastinating and get to it. Tips for actually interacting with people, even when maybe you don't feel like it. First of all, as uncomfortable as it is, and it is, and I'm not trying to dismiss that at all. Oh, that fits, but it doesn't fit. Yeah, generally people are like, okay, there's absolutely no point in it at all. Yeah, I don't want to have superficial conversations with people. It's not something that I need to have in my life. I'm not interested in this. I get it. So I get that reluctance. I also understand that you have to do that from time to time. It's also, depending on the situation, considered polite. For instance, I keep bringing up grocery shopping because that's unavoidable. Hello, cat. That's Lucy, if you hear her. Sometimes, almost everybody has to do grocery shopping. I understand they have, like, whatever it is, Instacart or something, and that people can get away with not doing shopping themselves anymore, which is good for you. But I have to do my own shopping. So if you're, say, in a grocery store or something, doing some sort of shopping, you have to interact with people, and they start talking to you and you refuse to talk back, I mean, that just makes it worse and more awkward. And it's just easier, take it from me, if you just learn to go with the flow and, okay, you're gonna talk to me? Okay, I'm gonna talk to you. But don't do that thing, even though that's what you're thinking. There's tip number one, is don't actively try to make people know how uncomfortable you are. Yes, you're uncomfortable. Yes, there's a reason for it. But if you make somebody completely aware of how awkward you are, you're going to make the interaction last longer. This is generally not the goal. You don't want to have some awkward thing just extend indefinitely, which you could do easily, unfortunately. It's Poppy on the other side. So it may be completely against your nature in every way and shape and form, but try to let it happen, and try to let it happen organically, okay? So that's if somebody talks to you. Believe it or not, one of the best small talk tips I can give you is sometimes it's better to try to say something, anything, to sort of get the first strike out. And then this goes somewhere here. Because then you can control how it's going to go from there forward. Which sounds incredibly manipulative, and it kind of is, but if you have any sort of control over how whatever the little conversation is that you're having, that will make you feel better. Okay, so how do you do this? The easiest way to have some sort of silly conversation, force yourself to have some sort of small talk situation, is to talk about something that is occurring around you at the moment, that you can both sort of comment on in your own way, and then you don't have to go any further. That's why people talk about the weather so much when they're having a small talk situation. Do I recommend that everybody on the planet chat about the weather? No. Do I say you must do this? No. But as a technique, you can have an interaction with somebody that is extremely, it's annoying on one hand, but it's also extremely low stress, because everybody experiences it, and nobody, sort of takes the weather personally. You're not going to have like a major confrontation unless you've got a true nutcase about the weather. However, I personally think the weather is not that great of small talk initial conversation. If there's an extreme issue going on in the world that you live in, like a major storm coming, okay, there we go. If you just say out of the blue, hey, crazy weather we're having, that'll make it even more awkward. To be like, yeah. So that's like a last ditch effort. However, things that would seem sort of ridiculous, like, again, if you're around crowds of people, bringing it up is an excellent way of adding a little bit of, this one's wrong, conversation. Things like, oh, it's really busy here today, or something like that. I mean, I wouldn't put it like that exactly, because the way I just said it with the sing-songiness is probably not the best way of starting a conversation. But just like, even just like, I mean, it can be like annoying to the people that you're talking to if what you're doing is complaining about service you're getting. That'll backfire. But if you're trying to commiserate with somebody, this does not work, does it? Nope. But this will. Isn't it sad that I can't get this straight? Anyway, so the other thing to do, yet you could do, although I would think this is like super awkward, but that might be the point, is if you give a mild compliment. Mostly because you'll get one of two responses. That's not right either. You'll either get somebody who is basically suddenly super awkward and quiet themselves. What's going on here? Oh, this one's wrong. Because it's strange to have a compliment out of the blue. So they'll either be really quiet, or they'll want to give you tons and tons of information about whatever it is you complimented them on, which is annoying. But that means it sort of gets you off the hook, and you don't have to talk about anything. Usually you just let them talk. Those are both ways of like taking a situation where you would sort of need to be social for, general politeness, and it would shut the conversation down. I mean, your ego will take a hit, I'm sure, if you have given somebody a compliment and they just have to go silent afterward. Again, not ideal. So there, I've given you a couple of situations that are not ideal. Just to get them out of the way. But again, they can be used as tools to get you through having small talk as quickly as possible, and then shut the conversation down. But also the other thing is a really good test, because if the person is still wanting to have a conversation with you after you've done something like talked about the weather, or how busy it is, or given a compliment, and they want to talk to you more, then that is a good sign that the person is actually in some way interested in you. I don't mean romantically, I just mean as a person, they're interested in you. It's really hard to notice those cues when you have avoidant personality disorder, because that's not what you would ever expect, that somebody would be interested in anything having to do with you. So if you either want to continue that, I mean, how to continue it is basically organically notice something else around you. This is why, for instance, in a lot of dates, people sit on opposite side of each other so they can look at each other from time to time, but then when there's a lull or whatever, they can look away, and then whatever they're looking at, you can comment on it, or you can comment on that the food that you like, or you can comment on decor and describe it on if it's behind the person, they can't see it. They can say, oh, I like this something. I mean, it seems really awkward. This takes practice. You have to do it again and again. This is another thing that small talk is good for, is if you can go to, this sounds, for some people, this sounds like so foreign. Like half the people, at least, that have avoidant personality disorder are the type that can only interact with their families. And you can try with your family. They might be like, what the heck, because they know you. But in any situation, the more you do it, the more practice you have, the easier it's going to be. But it is a matter of, in a nutshell, you find a commonality with you and the other person. So again, weather would be a commonality. If it's a busy or incredibly slow in unexpected sort of extremes, you're both experiencing that at the same time. If you're giving somebody a compliment, and like a minor compliment, like, oh, I like your earrings, or something stupid like that. I'm saying stupid like that because I personally would cringe if somebody did that to me and said, oh, I like your whatever that you were wearing. I'd be like, oh, thanks. Oh, let me get out of here. But a lot of people actually really would appreciate that, especially if it's a sort of more unique, I know that's not a word, it's not a proper way of doing it, a distinctive, part of whatever they're wearing, that makes them stick out as an individual, and you're noticing that. A lot of people really like that. But again, that is something you two are experiencing together. You're noticing. They already know what it is that they have that you're complimenting. Except don't generally compliment tattoos. I mean, some tattoos are okay, but that's like commenting on somebody's body. It can hit awkwardly. But again, with practice, that helps. It could be, I mean, it's going to sound really, really weird, but, I mean, this is really weird, but hey, it worked. I was in a situation, where I was basically standing around outside. It's like waiting for a bus or something. And, it was clear that the person beside me was the type who was chatty, and I was like, oh my God, they're going to start chatting. And then they would control the conversation. I was stuck. So literally what I did was I looked up and I was like, wow, that's a really clear and pretty blue sky above us. I mean, how lame can you get? But it worked. It was just, it broke the ice in the most unbelievably superficial way. I know that could be like cringe and annoying and the opposite of what you want to do, but it got me out of that situation, because instead of somebody attempting to be a friend with me when they were standing next to me for 20 seconds and I would never see them again, which is like, no, they're not going to be my friend, they're not going to be my acquaintance, they're even less than that. I'm not going to have a like in-depth conversation with them for sure. And whatever they said would be like too intense at that moment for me. So commenting on the color of the sky broke the ice, and also let this person know that I was not going to have any further conversation with them. And then it was over. It was great. But if what you're trying to do is have small talk in an attempt to get to know the person, then again, it's a commonality that you can both experience, but bring it like tighter and more precise than, hey, the color of the sky. And you can also give your really general opinion. Like, for instance, this is going to sound weird, but I mean, this is the type of thing that actually hits. If you really want to start a conversation with somebody, it's like you're standing there and the person is there and somebody goes by with a dog. Again, this is also a test, is that you could just like say, without looking at the person, with your face like sort of directed toward your person so they know that you're directing it toward them. Somebody walks by with like a dog or something like that, you could point and say, hey, see that dog? I don't say it like that because that's too direct. Say something like, there's a dog. So it's not, it's just like, and I mean, that's really basic. I know you're like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding. But this is plain small talk. It's to break the ice. There's a dog. I really like that breed. I think they're super cute. You're not demanding anything of the person. You're not saying something so personal about yourself. You're not forcing them to interact with you. It's called a bid. You're basically like, this is a thing that we're both experiencing, and the person, if they're interested, will start talking back and say, oh yeah, I knew somebody who had a dog like that when I was younger. Boom, there you go. That is how to get small talk from the most useless, superficial, annoying thing into a more deeper conversation. Or they would just go, or turn it back to you or something like that. I know that sort of crushes the ego a little bit, trying to have a conversation. But also, the good news about that is it weeds somebody out really quick so that you don't waste your time interacting with somebody that you're not going to have any further interaction with it in any way, shape, or form. And even if you have like a silly conversation about a dog and they tell you about a dog and you say something about a dog you knew or something like that, and then whatever the reason why you're standing around waiting naturally comes to an end, you're in line at the grocery store and it's your turn to cash out or something like that, end of the conversation, done with the small talk, but you had an interaction. It will like give you that interactive hit that you needed as a person with avoidant personality disorder to interact with somebody, but it won't be intense at all. And it's really good practice doing something like that for when you actually have some sort of like real relationship with somebody. And that is basically it. That's the building block. It's just a matter of intensity. I mean, are you talking about something super, super, super general? Or are you talking about something more concrete and specific to you? And that probably made your skin crawl hearing me talk about that. And you're probably like, yep, nope, I'm never doing that. The more you practice it, the easier it gets, the better it gets. It's still awkward, I'm not going to lie. It's still always slightly awkward. But if you're trying to not go completely mad because you're not interacting with somebody and you don't have somebody close to you, I mean, it's like methadone to a heroin addict. It gets you through. And, you know, I don't know. I don't want to make this video make people cringe very much. And it's just, if you, and I'm not trying to get views because I don't get monetized. I don't get money from this. So, but if you listen to it, this thing that I just suggested, or like sort of take the notes down or something like that, but you sort of let it sink in, listen to the ideas over and over and over again, because the first time I say anything like that, they're going to be like, hey, if you even see the title of this video, you're going to be like, nope, nope, nope. But if you can get over that initial reaction and that initial shock, especially with the idea, like step by step, do this cringy thing that's against everything that you want or need to do. I get that, but the more that you allow yourself to look at this awful, terrible thing that I've suggested, then the more that you'll be able to actually try it. Because unfortunately, there's no way to like completely, I don't know, inject yourself suddenly into the consciousness of somebody else so they already know enough about you and you know enough about them that you don't have to do the small talk thing. You have to start with the small talk thing. It might not last very long. Maybe you can easily jump into something deeper, but if you force a conversation or a relationship without the small talk, it's going to crash and burn every time. So that's how you do it. It's just a matter of finding some silly, stupid, superficial commonality. And then it's a test to see how are they going to react. Are they going to talk back to you or not? And you know, you can see if there's any possibility of it going forward. Okay, I'm repeating myself because I really wish that I could just say, here's how to do it in a much easier way that it's not going to bother you. But the only way to have it not bother you is to practice it again and again and again and sort of get a callus and be a little numb. And it's still annoying. But every once in a while you might find somebody that doesn't annoy you when you're doing small talk. And those are the people that you want to gravitate toward. It's a really good test to see if somebody is basically worth your time, is if small talk is not completely excruciating with somebody. Then that means that when you get past the small talk stage, the conversations that you have will be on the level that you need. Anyway, I think that's enough. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.